Hello and welcome to this episode of Pass the Cheese, Please. Today we have Nnenna. Hi, Nnenna. Welcome.
Hi. I can't stop eating cheese.
I was trying to eat, wouldn't
Cheese
eat.
is softer.
And then as soon as I started, I said hello to you. You put it in your mouth.
I just came back from a long walk and I'm hungry.
Yeah, that's okay. No worries. I was super hungry before we started, so I had a couple bites myself. I totally understand. But shoot, I was gonna say, like, sometimes when I eat, I'm trying to get someone to like talk about something. So I'll ask them a question,
And
that
then you'll eat.
for a little bit and then eat. But there's definitely been a couple times where people like end a lot sooner than I anticipate. I'm like, okay, let's fast.
Like, right? Okay.
Great point. Yeah. And this isn't necessarily a mukbang, podcast vlog thing. So trying to be cognizant of that.
Cool. I'll just stick to drinking.
Yeah, I mean, that works too. Well, welcome. Thanks for coming here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so excited to talk to you. It's been a long time. I guess we can go into our first segment because like you are somebody who, as soon as so we met because we worked together. We worked at school, and as soon as I kind of got to know you a little bit more than just like the professional say hi on the yard, I was like, why don't I talk to this person every day?
Yeah, I was the same way. I was like, she's cool. We would be friends outside of work.
Yeah.
So it really sucked when you left. Granted, I needed to transition out of that place anyway. Yeah. That's a different story.
Yeah, I know. We don't have to get into it. I heard about it, and it's I don't like how it went down.
Yeah.
Anyway,
neither do I.
We can be grateful for the fact that it brought us together when it was good.
Yeah, I feel like that's how I have to look at, and if I give advice to people or something like that, or any kind of like traumatic thing happens, it's like in the moment it does suck and you're like, why me? But like after the fact, it could be like a year or two down the road, you're like, it pushed me towards a different path, a path that was better, a path that led me to another path and everything like that. And it's just always hard kind of like giving that advice and like telling that to someone. And I'm like, of course you're not going to see it in the moment, but it's like, and you don't want to be that person like everything happens for a reason, because I just I hate that quote, but it's just like I needed to move on from that anyway. And it just was like, it may not be the push you wanted, but it could be the push that you needed. Kind of.
Yeah, no, I like that really resonates with me. That's something that I've been really sitting with for, a while, like the last year, but especially in the last couple of weeks, I've been just kind of like, because I think that you'll learn the most about yourself, and you learn, kind of the most just in those times. And like the one that I've been kind of sitting with is, I guess there's been professional stuff that has happened, and it's very hard to see in the moment, and then it's very hard to hear those messages in those moments. Like when you're in the throes of depression and someone's like, one day everything will get better, you're like, hey, it all sucks right now. Like, that's good to hear. Right now it's not great. And looking back, but like I was with this one partner, and I was just kind of reflecting on, if like how things would be different if I hadn't been with this person. And I for a very long time like accepted less than I deserved, and I told myself like, you're too much, and you need to change, and like these things about you are undesirable, and so like that's a you problem or something. And like being with this person, a lot of those things went away because I was told, or I was made to feel bad about things, or like, you do need to change this, or like this thing about you is not good. And now years later, I'm like, oh, no, like that's not. And you know, you
Yeah,
just wonder, had you not met that person, had you not learned that lesson, would I still be struggling with that?
exactly. My like one of my younger cousins in Nigeria, he mentioned something like that like a while back, but I think it was a small thing of just like me mentioning like Frank and how it's been so much better, and like, you know, the guy that I was like messing with before, it was just bad, and like why did I do all that? And he just, and I was like, I think I probably mentioned something about regretting it, and he was like, no, you shouldn't regret it because it teaches you stuff. And I was like, why is my younger cousin telling me this? Like, obviously I was like, well, yeah, duh, I mean, yeah. But it's true. It's like you would have those, if you're in a relationship and you see yourself like constantly questioning yourself and just being
Yeah.
like, maybe it's something I'm doing, like I need to change and
Mhm.
everything like that. That is the wrong relationship to be in, but you don't see it at that moment. And you're totally undermining yourself under just like you said, like you just felt like you deserved that.
Yeah.
And you didn't see that there was a possibility for something else. So you just kind of stuck with it. And um like, yeah, years later, you're like, why did I put myself through that? But then, like, just all the past relationships, I always think about, like, at the end of it, even though it was hard transitioning out of it,
Mhm.
um, what I'm walking away with is that I learned that that's something that doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that, oh, I learned that I need to be like a better partner or something like that, because I'm a dope partner. It was more just like, I learned that, why was I trying to change? Like, okay, that's something I don't like. Like,
Yeah.
I don't like if you're, you know,
Mhm.
so it's, and it was toxic, like not in like a physical way, but like an emotional way.
Yeah.
And those are things that just all pile up. So if like someone comes to me, or if I just hear someone talking about that, I'm like, it's not supposed to be that hard.
Yeah.
And that's what made me realize how great Frank is. It was like in our relationship, it was like it wasn't hard. Like
Mhm.
we didn't have arguments, which, you know, could also be like, why are we having arguments? But it was just like, you just like, if you just want to, if you, I think the realization I had is that um, if if I think, and I told him later, but my realization was like, if I can get in an argument with you but still want to be around you,
Yeah.
then that means something. And
Yeah.
that was the turning point.
Well, you like you should be able to, I think, to have discussions with your partner about tough things, you know, and I think especially now, you know, there's a lot of change that's happening, you know,
Yeah.
and of course, I'm not saying like if you're racist, continue to be racist because
Yeah.
we change that. You know, if you're transphobic, you know, but
Yeah, there's definitely some like hard no's, hard passes, like non-negotiables for
yeah,
sure.
but if you're you know, I don't love doing the dishes. It's just like not something I love to do. Like you like just know that. And when you talk to your partner, just like, hey, dishes are a thing that I hate doing. So sometimes they sit in the sink for 4 days. Let's talk about how we can make this work in our relationship, you know?
Yeah. Um, and that's what we would do too. It's just like, I'm the kind of person that if something's upsetting me, I'm like, maybe it's just me and I'm just thinking about it in my mind and I'm just like dwelling about it and stuff like that. And I just shut down and I like rather, I don't know, just sleep it off or something. Like I never, it hasn't been good for my passive aggression, but I'm just that kind of person where I remember I would be like, oh, I'm so angry. I'm going to like just throw everything off. But I was like, but then I have to clean it up later. And I just like, ugh, fine, you know, so it would just boil it down.
Mhm.
But Frank would be like, he would sit down and just be like, let's talk about it. I'm just like, I
Yeah.
don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
It's just like, let's
You
talk
don't
about it. So
want to.
then,
Sometimes you have to because we are adults.
yeah, because we are adults. So like having someone who can like encourage you to communicate is
Yeah.
already a big thing, whether they're, you know, you're in a romantic relationship with them, or just a completely platonic one. Like
Mhm.
someone who cares enough to be like, I know something's bugging you. Let's communicate. I'm here when you're ready to start talking, kind of, and just kind
Yeah.
of sit there.
And, I would also even say, like, if you're willing to have those conversations and you're in a relationship with somebody, whether it be professional, personal, romantic, anything. If you're like, hey, we need to talk about this, or like, whenever you're ready, let's talk about it, and they're unwilling to have
Yeah.
conversations, like, you need to take stock of that.
Yeah. Well, those are some red flags.
Yeah.
I
And
am.
relationships are not a one-way street.
No, and I came across. I don't know how I did it, but I think I like had a subscription to Medium. It's just like a platform for like journalists to write stuff and everything like that. And I came across sometimes I read their articles, but one of them was like uh 5 things that like show that's like someone's person, like 5 red flags, like personality trait red flags and stuff like that. And they definitely had a disclaimer, like, we're not saying that if someone has all these, you should totally like, kick them out of your life or anything. But these are just some things that, like, think about.
Yeah.
Seven little things that can tell you a lot about someone.
Mhm.
And I started going through and I was like, yeah, these are huge red flags. Um, like one is like how they keep their commitments, how they treat people below them,
Mhm.
how their car looks,
Oh,
you
interesting.
know, how they act when they make a mistake, how they act when you make a mistake, how they act with people they want something from, and lastly, how their real life compares to social media life. And I was like, that feels like it's like there's so much you can take from that.
Yeah.
And it's not saying that there's just going to be a person who has all of those
Mhm.
and like everyone can have something different.
Right.
And I definitely looked, I'm like, well, what about me? What about my car and stuff like that? Like things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
But the
You choose
main
what resonates with you.
exactly the main ones that like my older sister wrote back, and I think she said like 4 through 6, because they're kind of connected. So like 4 is how they act when they make a mistake, how they act when you make a mistake,
Mhm.
and how they act when they want something from people. And I was like, yeah, those are the ones that I feel like you can see in someone who's like narcissistic, or someone who's like toxic, gaslighting you, things like that.
Mhm.
And those are like the main, those have to be your like, I don't know, like non-negotiables, are just like, unless you're a person who like is the same way, that really does show you about someone. And that's not just like in a relationship or a friendship. That's like in the work environment, especially. Like those are things that you're like, huh. Especially when it comes to like how you make a mistake, how they make a mistake, or how they act when they want something from you, right?
Mhm.
And like those are like the real obvious ones that I feel like, yeah. And it's weird because if you just think about someone who is a longtime friend of yours, or someone who like is currently, you're just doubting, like, do I really need this person? Like, is this a person that's like you taking small doses or whatever like that? And you just kind of place them up against that. And you, especially when you look at those three like little things, um, you can really just be like, yeah, this is why I love this person. This is why this person's in my life. This is why this person's my friend. Or
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, these are the things that bother me about this person. It's not just me. And other people say the same thing. And it's just like, you don't need to change that. They can be that way, but they need to be around people who are also that way. Because you don't want to be the one who's like having to, like, that's you. You're like, oh, I'm noticing that they're like around me more because they're going to ask me a question,
Mhm.
or I'm noticing that when I make a mistake, they keep bringing it up as a joke. But when they make one, they just, forget about it. So,
Yeah. I mean, kind of wish that I had known that a couple years ago.
right?
Uh,
Don't we all?
yeah, I mean, what a great thing to say. So profound.
Uh-huh.
But like another thing that I've been really sitting with, I was with this person and I realize now, it was from a place of insecurity. But
Yeah.
with their friends, but especially mine, it just seemed like they were always waiting for them to like do something wrong or make a mistake
Mm-hmm.
or do something
Mm-hmm.
that they didn't like or just something along those lines. So
Mm-hmm.
then they could be like, see, this is why this person is bad and or they're a bad friend because of this and they're also bad because of that. So
Yeah.
like so just kind of carrying around the line and I realized like this person really affected the relationships that I had with people I loved. And it wasn't like, I was like, no, I love this person in spite of this thing that they do. Like, it's okay that they do that because I do this over here. And like, we still make it
Oh,
work and
I see.
love each other,
Yeah.
and
You're
so,
trying to balance off like their faults with your own faults. And you're like, well, no one's perfect or
well, it like, I noticed, especially with my friends. And so,
mm-hmm.
like, so the relationships that I had with my friends changed because I started to feel more negatively about my friends because this part
Okay.
felt negatively about my friends.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
And so for me, I was like, no, like, yes, like, okay, say yes, this person is late, but like, they're 20 minutes late. Like, we just know this about this person and we still love them in spite of that. It wasn't like, oh, because they're always 20 minutes late, they're a bad person and a bad friend. And so we don't like them, like that
Yeah.
was their line of thinking. And I was like, no, like, they give me all this joy and all this other stuff. And also, like, I'm neurotic in this way and they love me
Mm-hmm.
in spite of that. So like we're not perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And it's true too. It's like because you can look back and just be like, why was I with that person or why did I tolerate that person for a long time? You
Yeah.
shouldn't just I also try and like check myself and just be like, I don't want to like seem like I'm above that person. It's more of just like, why did I allow myself? If that's not the kind of person that I like to be around or I didn't like what they were making me become, like, why did I tolerate it for so long?
Yeah.
And yes, it does go to insecurities. And insecurities is just like, oh my gosh, like, was just I don't know, like embedded in so many people. And like for me, I felt like was embedded in me at a very early age. And I, never always fully felt accepted, never felt like comfortable in my own skin, whether it's like my appearances or or my weight or even the color of my skin because I like just looking at history, like yes there's been all these yes there's been like the BLM movement and there's been more intentional ways of depicting African Americans like just in social media or just in general, but like just think about like the years of social conditioning that I felt like especially millennials that we had to go through from such an early age of dealing with that. Like I can still remember like in elementary school like liking a guy liking a boy and like that boy liked some other girl who was like skinnier, who was possibly mixed, who had really long hair, and or who had like I don't know the latest shoes or whatever like that. Like those are the things that happen. And I remember talking to my longtime friend, high school friend, best friend, um, and we had a conversation too. Like she would be a perfect person to have on a podcast. But we were just thinking about like how even in high school and like even in college of just how as black women we like viewed ourselves, especially if we like had crushes on like white guys and just always being like the friend, like someone like they like not being seen as desirable and like what that does to you. And you already have years of like being that person, and when it continues to happen to you, you accept it, you hate it, but you kind of just have to accept it because it's like this is the world we live in. And it sucks. And I'm just like so thankful that For Kalena, granted, she's mixed, and gets told she's beautiful basically by everyone who walks by her. I was like, oh gosh, we're gonna give her a complex. Um, but as an educator and as a Black woman, I'm totally, completely intentional in like what I expose her to, like when it comes to books, when it comes to toys, like, and these are things that like our parents didn't do. I mean, I grew up in a in LA, but like surrounded by a huge Nigerian um community, which I'm completely thankful for.
Mhm.
But it was just like us in our community and then us in us in society.
Mhm.
And those things rarely like melted together. Um, because I mean it makes sense when you're an immigrant, you come to a new country, you find like your own kind and you kind of just stick to that because there's safety in that, and there has been safety in that. Like, we would not have been able to bury my dad and travel to Nigeria without that safety net of our Nigerian community, of like everyone gets together, they donate money to the family who lost someone, and you help them with all the stuff. So as like a millennial who's just like, most of us are like transplants or just like lucky if we have our parents in our lives, are lucky if we can like afford to live anywhere. That community is a lot smaller,
Mhm.
so even just now, just trying to be like, expose her to kids of different like cultures or ethnicities and stuff like that has been happening, but like a lot slower because of COVID.
Yeah.
But I have to be intentional with that. Like, I have to make sure she knows that I'm not the only brown person in her life,
Mhm.
like and it takes a lot, and I understand why people don't do it, because it's
Yeah.
like, why do I have to think about this? Like, yeah, my kid could just be like, my kid's white, they have white friends, I have white friends, like, why not? Like, why do I have to go out of my way to make sure that they um their extracurriculars are in a diverse culture, or they're going to a school with a diverse culture? And it's it's something that even adults that we can do because it's easy, right? But you have to just continue to put yourself in uncomfortable moments, because it's kind of what makes you stronger.
Yeah.
um and I feel like that's more of just me as an educator, or like a child life major or whatever like that has gotten me thinking about that more. But then it also intersects with me as a Black woman, right? And then of course me as a Black woman married to a white guy. So it's just, it takes a lot, but it is, honestly, I feel like the more you do it, you just have that lens on you automatically, right?
Mhm.
And Black people already have that lens on them. They're like, already notice that if I'm the only Black person in the room. But I do like that recently, at least in the last like year and a half, you've been seeing people publishing more things, being like, here's a list of children's books that
Yeah.
you know deal with racism, or that have like diverse characters and stuff like that. And um I'm just glad that she's growing up in that,
Yeah.
because like I got all the books. I got all the books, and I gotta make sure she sees all the shades and stuff, and more female characters too, more strong female characters. So
Yeah, it is obviously I cannot speak to the plight of a Black woman in America, and I will not pretend that I like uh,
take a crack at it. Just
I just want to be
kidding.
clear for anyone who like thinks what I'm about to say could confuse that, but like I've had to become uncomfortable in a lot of ways and reassess
Hmm.
my behaviors and my own like words and actions and stuff in the past, stuff that I'm currently doing, and you know um you know like getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, because
Yeah.
nobody likes being uncomfortable. Like that's why it's uncomfortable, but
Yeah.
when you do those things, like for me it's kind of like, and I apologize if this is like a really like inappropriate or pedestrian comparison, but it's kind of like a new pair of shoes. Like it's uncomfortable at first, but then you get used to it, and like you don't wear it every single day unless you
Hmm.
want to, and
Hmm.
that's hard.
Hmm.
But like
But you're willing to put the work into it to
yeah,
get it comfortable, right?
yeah, like to, like
Yeah. You're
it
like, I
makes
really like these shoes, so.
like for white people, like just like look at this. Like there was a time in your life, like a pair of shoes, like a new school, like a new job. You were uncomfortable, but you showed up
Yeah,
and you did something
you
different.
stuck to it.
Yeah, and just kind of think of hopefully, kind of take that into account when you're doing this behavior of, looking at the world around you and, being empathetic, and
Yeah.
I mean, you said a lot of great things. And this is like another thing that I really love about you. Like our conversations never go where I think that they're gonna go. They're always incredible. And I always have a good time with them. But I hate how everything, like, if we just look at everything is focused on appearance and the way that you look.
Yeah,
That's the first line of attack for anybody that they go
yeah,
for on somebody. And like,
yeah.
I don't care what color your hair is. I don't care what size pants you wear. Like, if
Hmm.
you could be a blob, but if you are being a racist person, like you forget that.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I and I really like maybe this can be like construed as but whatever, like I do not care what the person looks like. I care who the person is,
hmm,
and yeah, and so it's so frustrating how like we just always focus like on women, a lot of women and women identifying people. We focus
yeah,
on weight, how much makeup they're wearing, how much makeup they're not wearing, what
yeah,
clothes they're wearing, and we police that. And like, our generation was told that that was okay, and
hmm,
well, generations, have been told
yeah,
okay, and it's not okay. Like what I look like is nobody's business but my own,
yeah,
and if you have a problem with it, that's on you. That's not on me.
yeah, yeah. I yeah, and it's sometimes I feel like it's even things you can't even necessarily turn off. It's almost just like it's your brain categorizing someone, like, oh, this person's heavy, this person's really skinny, this person's black, this person, you're like, oh, what is this person? Is this person mixed? Is this person Hawaiian? Like, and then your mind just goes crazy. You're like, I need to know because I need to categorize that. And it's what I've if I'm like with my older sister, if I'm with like my younger sister or like Frank or something like that, and I catch my mind like judging someone, I tell myself, I'm like, okay, I'm judging. I know I'm judging. I call myself that I'm judging because I'm like, it is really impossible to not judge someone.
Yeah.
But it's true. It's like, I think because you recognize that your brain does that is what makes you be like, oh, I need to focus on like how I look or how do I, and I hate it too because sometimes it could be debilitating. I could like, if I have a set, like I love when I have like a set outfit I'm gonna wear,
Mhm.
and like I don't have to do much to my hair because it's like just as for one being a black woman, like I change my hair like every couple of weeks, and my hair how my hair is sometimes dictates what I'm going to wear.
Mhm.
And if like those things don't clash, I'm like standing in my closet forever. And it's the reason why I have so many clothes, which I don't need. But I'm just standing in my closet and I'm just like, and then we could be like going somewhere and like Frank is just trying to be so patient, but he's like, babe, we need to go. And I'm just like, I'm sorry, but if I don't feel good in what I wear, then I'm going to feel bad the whole night. And I hate feeling that like, I don't know, materialistic or that vain, but it's just, I mean, it's years of conditioning
Yeah,
and
it's
I
a
want to feel just comfortable in my skin. Yeah, it's just I want to feel comfortable in my skin, and it doesn't help that Frank is just always like, "Babe, you look beautiful in whatever you wear, like however your hair is and blah blah." I'm like, "Yeah, but you aren't the millions of people in the world." So I love you for saying that, but um, so I think I knowing that I want to try and be good about like not passing that down to like my daughter.
yeah.
But like I said, I don't think she's gonna have a problem. I don't think she's gonna have a problem with it.
Something
Um,
I've noticed that also like, like working with kids, like I have done this too, and I really don't like it. We like sexualize children. Like if a guy and a girl and a boy kids are holding hands, we're like, they're boyfriend and girlfriend, and that's
Mhm.
totally appropriate. And
Mhm.
it's always very heteronormative.
Mhm.
Like if two guys are holding, two little boys are holding hands, we never say that, like,
Mhm.
and also like that would be so weird to be like, oh, that's a gay relationship over there. So
For
I'm
me,
glad.
I'm just all about saying like how I'm always just mentioning like how cute it is and stuff like that and trying to just catch pictures. But
Yeah.
yeah, you just it sucks because even if you're the person who isn't like that, everyone else is. So it's
Yeah.
like I we were at the park yesterday and I surprised Frank for his birthday, which was Friday, but
Happy
got his like college friends.
birthday.
Thanks. I we did like a game night Friday night with like his post college friends. But like Saturday I like called a bunch I like got I mean, I got a bunch of his college friends who I'm also friends with. I'm like, hey, look, can you guys meet us at this park? It's a surprise and everything like that. And I've known them since I've known him, and they're just great guys. And he's realizing that he's now that he's 36, he's known them for 18 years. He's known them for half of his life.
Yeah, that's wild.
And a couple of us are like now having have kids and are introducing that into it, so they brought their kids and it was so cute just seeing Helena with like other kids are like our friends kids and stuff like that and like holding hands and walking around, and it was just like so many pictures were taken yesterday of just that because we've all just missed being in each
Yeah.
other's presence. But what Kalena and what many kids are missing now is just socializing, which is so important, so huge, and like just really just is the foundation of a human being's life. And they need to like have that to just see like what are I don't want to it's weird to say socially acceptable things, but like
How are
what are
you?
things you can do? Like it's okay to like hold hands, it's okay to play with this other person who is like who looks more like me than like the adults that are in my life and everything
Yeah.
like that. And it was just great to see her and to see her with that because she's such an observant kid, but she's also so calm and stuff.
Yeah.
And
That kid,
everyone always mentions that about her.
you have a kid that very much likes to take in her surroundings
Yeah.
and make her decision. Whereas like I was a kid, as soon as I could walk, I was running. And so it's like, let me go everywhere.
Hmm.
I would
Yeah.
probably been teaching Kalena that you not only can you go down the slide, but you can run up it. The slide.
And I'd be the one like, please don't run up the slide. No, no, no. We go, it's only one way down, one way up. Because of course all the kids wanted to run up that slide.
Yep. Good. I'm glad that there are kids out there that are teaching or teaching, I don't know.
Yeah, we are lucky to have her, but I feel like that's a trait that she got from me because I'm kind of that person too where I just observe and I take in the environment, take in how people interact with their environment or with each other, the things they say, and I'm like, okay, this is a person that I could like be friends with or I can talk to, or a person like, oh, this is how I should approach or interact with this person.
Mhm.
Because and I don't know if it's just like digging deeper into it is like, was it that I was so focused on making a good first impression that I came off that way to make sure they would perceive me the right way,
Yeah.
or that I would be perceived the right way. And like maybe that's it. But it's just so great on her because she does do that, but she also doesn't have like kind of stranger danger. So it's just kind of like the pros and the cons, right? Like we knew that we would be like, oh, if someone wants to hold her, then yeah, you can hold her and stuff because we don't want her to be like super clingy to us. And she does
Yeah.
let the person hold her, but I don't want her to be the person who would just walk off with someone.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of what
I don't think
she's
the last.
doing. So like once she kind of starts understanding stuff, then we're like going to be telling her about like only, only go with people that you recognize or that you see mommy and daddy with, and or stuff like
Adults,
that. Like,
adults also never ask kids for help.
yeah,
So if an
yeah,
adult asks you for help, you say,
yeah.
let's go find an adult, or no thanks.
Or you teach them to be like, well, my dad's a cop. You want me to? I can call him. Just always say that.
Yeah. Well, we are at that time. Is there anything that you want to like bring awareness to or promote, or any final thoughts?
uh, I don't know.
That's okay. You don't have
I
to.
think no. I think I don't know if this is just as a woman or something like that, but because of my pregnancy, I have wanted to like bring awareness to miscarriages
Oh.
and prematurity, because it is something that it's 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 hard to think about, but it's something that is out there and that's actually quite common. But because women don't share their stories, you don't think is as common.
Mhm.
And especially because like with social media, all you're seeing are like successful pregnancies, or are like straightforward pregnancies. And so I I did blog about it. I don't know if you saw it, but I did blog about um my last pregnancy and everything that went down. And I do have some stories that I like would write it on my like Apple, the notepad or whatever like that, and then copy paste it like later
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But I think it's something that women should share their story, because there's a lot of us out there. Um and then there's also the like um the next step, right? Like that trauma follows you into your next pregnancy, and it's real. And there's a lot of triggers, but you shouldn't have to feel like you can't be happy about being pregnant again or talk about your pregnancy again. um but there's still like your heart is still like, I don't know if I can take it again. And um you know with that being said, I'm 13 weeks pregnant, and it's been really hard to kind of like talk about it. And we told our friends, we told some of our close friends on Friday, Frank's birthday, and some of our friends yesterday, and my mom on Friday and stuff like that. And it's really hard because it's like I want to be able to just be happy throughout this pregnancy, but that trauma and that is still lingering. And I think I want to prepare myself for whatever the outcome is, but it's just hard, because it's a lot that it's not just your body, it's not just your mind, it's both.
Yeah.
So I don't know, just continue to encourage people to share their story. And even like, I don't know, even fathers too. Like I'm very lucky to have Frank as a partner, and he was just amazing, and we went through a lot, and he never wavered. And not many people get that. Sometimes a miscarriage can break up a relationship, or women are dealing with it in silence because they don't have that support. And so when it comes to it, I do want to recognize the the small fortunes that I had dealing with that. And I was treated really well, the hospital, and they still continue to check on us. And there's so many people in the world, so many women who aren't getting that. And you know I
Yeah.
know there's so many things to recognize and be aware of, but it's a thing that is happening. And with everything that women have to deal with, of just trying to reclaim their body in government, like there's so, let's let's also like keep an eye on each other, and support one another and stuff, and not like just be divided by like some silly things,
Mhm.
as like if your name's Karen or not, or whatever. So,
Well, thank you for sharing that.
yeah,
I really appreciate it. Yeah, I've read your blog. I loved it. It it's nice. I don't want to say it's nice to hear, because that has like this inappropriate connotation, but it's
No, I
appreciated,
understand.
you know, because this is something that you don't have to share with the world, you know, because it is loss of life, you know.
Yeah.
It's a loss of a life that was a part of you. And
Yeah.
yeah, you know, and I think miscarriage is something that is very common for women. Like a lot of people have miscarried, a lot of women, oh gosh, and I want to be inclusive of how I say this, because obviously there are people that are trans, that are men,
Yeah.
you know, maybe in the past have had pregnancies, and so
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the most appropriate way to refer to that. I apologize. But you know, people have miscarriages a lot of times without even knowing that they were pregnant, you know.
True.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, and it, you know, it can happen early, it can happen late, yeah, and
Yeah.
it's never easy.
Yeah. And I think that was kind of the, I don't know, naiveness or whatever, that I realized when it was just, I mean, granted, I felt like I was walking on eggshells because it was already a high risk pregnancy. But but thinking that if it was going to happen, it happens in the first trimester, and that's what they still kind of continue to push out to you. It's like, if something's going to happen, it's going to happen in the first trimester, and a lot of the times it does. And it's like they want you to just be like, whew, you know, like, I made it out of the first trimester and stuff like that. But like, no, even during that pregnancy, it was like, yes, I made it to like 13 weeks or whatever, but now it's like, let me make it to 20 weeks, which was like when we had our anatomy scan and we found out the genders. And then I was like, then I probably like that week of the miscarriage or like a week before, I heard that 22, 23 was viability. And that was a term I had not even heard of.
Yeah.
And that's really like, 23 is the way when they would actually intervene if something happens. And I was at like a few days short of that when it happened. So they weren't going to do anything. And I, as much as I, I wanted to, or I tried to push for that, like the having the labor stop and having both Chioma and Kalena in separate sacks is what saved Kalena. Like, I was able to have her for 4 more weeks in my body, and 4 weeks in your body is like, or like a day in your body, I think they said, for a baby is worth like 3 days or something in a NICU. And it's true, because it's like, it's such a controlled environment that they've already been thriving in. So you just want to keep them inside you for as long as possible. And she, so I was just like, she almost the reason why Kalena was able to like stay inside and thrive and everything like that. And it's it's those things that, it was like those small things that kind of like kept me going with everything that was going on. And yeah, a lot of things suck. And there were times where I was just comparing myself like, oh, well, like there are people who have lost their whole family or blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it's not fair to do that to myself, but it's something that you do where you're just like, that's the kind of person I am. Like, I can be hurting, but knowing that someone's out there who's hurt a lot more.
Right. We all minimize,
And
you know,
yeah,
we
yeah.
minimize our own trauma. Yeah.
You either minimize it or you feel like you need to compare it, because then someone could be like talking about this. And I'm like, oh yeah, well, I lost my dad and my daughter in the same year. Like, I shouldn't have to compare it, because everyone has a different experience, and it hits you differently as well. But I think that's definitely another like topic of just like trauma in general. I could talk for days about trauma.
Such a fun, lighthearted topic.
Such a great topic.
You know, you need to have these conversations, because and you know, your trauma and your loss is not any less valid than anyone else's. So thank you, Nnenna. I really appreciate everything that you shared with us and everything that you taught us today. It was a really wonderful talking to you.
Yeah, thanks. I enjoyed it. If you are running out of Black friends, I'm here to come back. I'm just looking at you.
You sound good.
I'm always down. down to come back, and like if
Look,
I record a podcast, I will definitely
thank you.
add you to it, because it'd be cool. It'd be cool to have people when Frank and I like record and like add people to the conversation. That'd be pretty
Yeah.
awesome.
I mean, obviously I love talking. That's
I'll be.
I promise I
Yeah,
won't
for sure.
necessarily eat cheese during it.
You can eat whatever you want, honestly. Just keep that finger on mute whenever. I was low key about to do that, and I was like, whatever.
Okay. Well, thank you, Nnenna.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Take care.
You too.